All right, welcome into the Friday edition ahead of a fun-filled weekend, I'm sure, for all of us, of High Noon with me, Pugs Moran, on the Radio Misfits Network. Welcome to the show. You can follow the show and you can catch the show on any of those platforms you see listed below there. We've got the Facebook, we've got the Twitter, we've got the YouTube. We've also got a direct link to the YouTube, and just in case YouTube is yeah. Although I understand that it's not a problem finding us on YouTube anymore, thanks to you people, because, the more views you get and stuff, the higher up you climb. We used to be, when we first started, we were buried beneath thousands of pug dog shows, people just doing channels dedicated to their pug dog. But now I understand that we come up pretty close to the top. So we're popular than most dogs who do live streams. So, that's something that feels good. But if you still have a little difficulty, we have created the pugscast.com. That'll send you right there. Let me see. Let's bring in my partner in crime for these discussions of all the day's shows, a man who's already had a full day by my estimation. It is he, the artist, Emil. Hey, Emil, how are you?
Doing good. Looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah, aren't we all? You know what I'm doing this weekend?
Nothing.
Yeah. I am fully dedicated tomorrow to college football Saturday, and I am fully dedicated on Sunday to pro football Sunday. I mean, I'm excited. This I know college season started already, but I feel like this is the first weekend because, first of all, fall is my favorite time of year. Even here in Texas, where we don't really get a fall. We just get, we get like a Midwest June in the fall here, and people just call it fall. But it's, fall to me is Saturday college football, Sunday pro football. And this is the first weekend where those two things collide. So it's a very exciting weekend for me.
I agree. Opening week of football, NFL football, is particularly exciting.
Yeah.
If you have a team that you think is going to do well,
Yeah.
And I think this, after Cowboys yesterday and the Bills, being touted the way they are, I think I got a lot to look forward to. You, on the other hand,
okay,
not so much.
Here he goes. It doesn't matter my level of benevolence that I will offer him, because I am so done with this. Every team he roots for, I have to hate, and every team I root for, he has to hate. I am so done with this. Because you know why? His teams are the Yankees in baseball and the Buffalo Bills in football. And truth be told, I like both of those teams. I have a very sentimental attachment to the New York Yankees. Now, I am a Chicago White Sox fan first and foremost, and a Texas Rangers fan secondary. But the Yankees were my grandfather's team, and my grandfather raised me. So as a child, I loved the Reggie Jackson Yankees. As a little kid, I loved Bucky Dent and Catfish Hunter. And I remember you want to know what a Yankee fan I am, Mr. Emil? I remember where I was when Thurman Munson died. I remember that. I was my grandpa was a milkman, and I think it was a Saturday maybe, or a Friday morning, and we were in some people's living room because, all right, this is a bit of an aside, but my grandpa was a milkman in the days when milkmen were like parts of your family. Like everybody that he delivered, he did a lot of businesses, but he also had the neighborhood that he lived in. So he would literally come to your home every morning and fill your refrigerator with milk, eggs, cheese, whatever, ice cream, whatever it is that you ordered. You would put in your order, and then he would fill it. They'd leave it in the mailbox or something. He'd pick it up, and then the next day he'd bring exactly what you wanted. So, okay, we're getting a little downstream, but this is kind of an interesting story about how America has changed. My friend Jody Dean on Twitter, he has a theory about America changed truly when the 8-foot privacy fence became popular with
right.
the suburbs in the 80s. But before that, neighborhoods had chain link fences between their yards. You could see everybody. You sat in your backyard, you waved at the neighbors, sitting in their backyard because you saw them clear plain sight. But back in this day, back when I was working on my grandpa's milk truck and working at the dairy, he used to just be able to wrap your mind around this. This is the milkman. He was allowed to just walk in to people's houses like it was a restaurant kitchen.
door was never locked in the
No.
neighborhood that I lived in. Like,
Oh.
rarely did they ever lock the door.
No, yes, and in the era of the milkman was well, the big rumors, how many illegitimate kids does the milkman have? Because he's allowed to walk right into the house when the wife is pissed at her husband and eating bonbons watching Oprah or whatever it was that she was watching. Because remember, women didn't work in the 70s, so certainly not in the neighborhood where we were delivering. All the women were home, and my grandpa and me, we would just walk in. He'd open up the refrigerator and you'd hear a voice from the other room. Joe, is that you? He'd be like, yeah, just I see you're a little bit low on half and half. You guys liking this, or should I bring some? Yeah, we like. It was crazy. They allowed a dude off the street who they knew, because I guess over time you do it for 10 years, you're allowed to just walk in. That is mind blowing to me. We were standing in this woman's living room or kitchen, and something was a radio was on or something, and it was the report that Thurman Munson's plane had crashed. And I remember my grandpa was shook by it. Like, I never saw my grandpa be shook, but he was a big Thurman Munson fan, and he goes all the way back. He saw like one of Mickey Mantle's first games, as a rookie or something, was against the White Sox. And he used to go to all the Yankee games when they'd come to the South Side. And he was so blown away by this new kid, Mickey Mantle, that he decided that he was going to follow his career. And, he kind of lucked out because that was a good one.
Picked a good one.
That was a good one to jump on early. So that's why he was such a diehard Yankee fan. But yeah, I remember where I was. I was standing, and I don't remember whose living room was or whose kitchen. And when I say kitchen living room, it's because these houses, these bungalow houses in Chicago, the kitchen's kind of merged with the living room. So, but I remember standing there and him telling me about who Thurman Munson was, and this is such a tragedy and blah blah blah. So I have sentimental attachment to the New York Yankees, but they're your team. So you talk nothing but shit about my team. So I've been forced over the years to manufacture some hatred for the New York Yankees that simply doesn't exist. It's not authentic, and I'm tired of it. The Buffalo Bills are another team. I love the Buffalo Bills. I love the Jim Kelly Bills. I loved Marv Levy. I have met Marv Levy. A wonderful Chicago guy, in the offseason, he did Chicago radio and stuff because he was a big deal back then. He was always supporting a charity or something. Marv Levy was awesome. And I was heartbroken. All 4 of the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl losses. Fast forward 10 years later, I meet you, and now I'm manufacturing hatred for the Buffalo Bills, which sucks. So I'm not doing it anymore. The only one that I will hate on is your stupid college football team, LSU. That's the only one that I authentically dislike. So whatever, talk shit on my Bears. Your Buffalo Bills are my AFC pick to go to the Super Bowl. So you know what? You just want to be one-sided cruel? That's fine. But I'm rooting for your team.
Sorry about your luck.
He's staying stuck to it. All right.
So I have an emotional attachment to the milkman. But my story is a little different. Remember when you would go and it would be milk in glass bottles?
Oh yeah.
And then they would give you the container, like you drop off like a 6-pack of glass bottles, and then you would take the glass bottles and put them back in the 6-pack,
right.
And then you'd return them on the porch.
Yeah.
And then the milkman would come pick it up. If he had the opportunity to come into the house, he'd come into the house. If he didn't come into the house, he'd leave it on the porch.
Yeah.
You would get the milk, particularly if you were in cold weather. In warm weather, they'd bring it in.
Is there anything better than ice cold milk in a glass bottle? There's nothing better than that.
No, that is the best.
Yeah.
So my story goes to, I remember when my parents decided they were getting divorced, and my mom and dad were like, okay, we're getting divorced. You kids need to decide who you're going with. So my 2 sisters decide they're going with my mom. I decide I'm going with my dad. And the minute that those decisions were made, it was almost like they blew the whistle for war. And my mom was just like, okay, you kids, sisters go up here. We're going to pack Emil's clothes. He's leaving with John. We're headed out the door. And we lived in Toronto, and it was like 2nd grade when they were getting divorced. And my mom is pissed at my dad, rightfully so, because he was cheating. She caught him. And so
Okay.
we're exiting the house, like trying to get the clothes into the car. We're getting the clothes into the car, and my mom is screaming at my dad. My dad's just trying to get the hell out of there. And she's looking around, and at one point in time, she took my remember the Hot Wheel, the German car with the Hot Wheel. He had like the spiked helmet on it, and
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
zings the Hot Wheel at my dad, like she's throwing stuff at him. She was a thrower,
That
and she
landed.
zings it at my dad, and all of a sudden the little pointy thing kind of like hit him in the side of the head, and it stuck like this.
Stuck in his
So
hat.
stuck in the side of his head. So he pulls it out. He's got a little bit of blood coming. And so she's still not happy with that. And she looks on the porch because down the porch, and she sees these 6 glass milk bottles. And all of a sudden it's like they were Molotov not filled, and and I'm making it into the car. And as I'm making it into the car, the bottles are hitting the car, bouncing off the car, smashing. Anyway, so that's my old milkman story in the milk bottles.
Well, I can tell you we would have charged you for those bottles on the very next delivery. Not a lot, maybe 5-10 cents, but that came. I do not necessarily have vivid memories of the glass bottles, because when I was, I remember the glass bottles. I remember but the bulk of my time, they had moved to cardboard containers for milk. Remember when they were in cardboard before they were in plastic?
Okay.
So that's really what I remember. But I do remember having to wash out the glass bottles. And I remember it was disgusting because we did it. There was like this big water. It wasn't even a machine. It was just like a tub of hot water with detergent that sort of churned. Jung, 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 and you had to physically take the glass bottles and put them in there and hold them in the water as they churned through. It was all manual. And
Oh.
yeah, in the summertime when it's like 85 and maybe I didn't keep up with my milk bottle washing, oh, the smell, to this day, my gag reflex will go off. There was nothing worse than a hot, spoiled milk smell. It was just gross. So I was happy when they went with the disposable cardboard. That was a big help for me. Yeah, man, the milkman, that was I've often thought, like, this 1%er neighborhood that we live in now, I mean, so a milkman, just so you know, a milkman didn't just deliver milk. He delivered any dairy product that you wanted.
Butter.
Butter, ice cream, cheeses, not exotic cheeses, but kinds of cheeses, cream, stuff like that. Milk, chocolate milk, strawberry milk, all the different flavors of milk that you could want. And I think of why. I mean, I know why that fell apart, because the supermarket, maybe where you live, you might remember this. In the south side of Chicago neighborhood where I lived, there was a time when there wasn't a supermarket at the end of every block. There was a market.
And they didn't have necessarily dairy.
Right.
The way that dairy was kind of done at the dairy. Like, we had a place called Snyder's Dairy.
Yeah.
And that's where you would go to get all your dairy aside from the supermarket.
Yeah, but then once, like, the supermarket explosion of the early 70s, mid 70s started to come in and new neighborhoods were being built, they started putting these, as the suburbs expanded, they would, like, now there's a joke, what came first, the new neighborhood or the Home Depot? Because every new neighborhood has a Home Depot or Lowe's or something right there. But back then it was what came first, the supermarket or the neighborhood.
Well, it wasn't even a supermarket. It was really the grocery store.
Right.
And that's what you were knowing. And then remember, you would go in and you would order, your parents would get stuff and they would write it down like on a sheet, and they would let them leave with groceries without paying for them.
Neighborhood credit.
Yeah. And then they would come back at the end of the week when they were getting paid, and then they would settle up with the grocer.
How awesome, how amazing was that? I mean, now everything is, you run through a bank and they find out if you defaulted on a student loan 30 years ago. But back then they understood that you need to eat, you live in this neighborhood, this is the only place in the neighborhood where you can get food, you'll be back. It was like,
right.
You had to pay that bill.
And I remember, like, we would go to the grocery store as kids when we wouldn't go with our parents, and we had like our own charge. Like, we could go up to the guy and say, okay, we want that lollipop, we want this, we want that, and leave. And then he would like write it down. And then my grandfather or my father would come at the end of the week and he'd be like, well, let me get this tab and let me get this tab and that tab. And then I would buy things for other kids,
The fancy Cirillo family tab.
and my grandpa would be like, what the hell? We feeding an army here? That was always the thing that he would say.
Who bought 10 Charleston chews?
Right.
So, yeah, but the neighborhoods where I lived in, there was and maybe this was national. I think it's nationwide, but before the supermarket or the grocery store, I think the supermarket was a combination pharmacy and grocery store. I think that's when they started calling it a supermarket, when they would move in like in Chicago, we have Jewel food stores, and there was always an Osco, which is a pharmacy attached to it. And then we had a Dominic's food store, and there was always a Walgreens attached to it. I mean, that was the supermarket thing. But the markets that I remember were little neighborhood markets. They were the size of a 7-Eleven. And again, this is before the convenience store. They were a little bigger than a 7-Eleven. They were a little bigger because they had like maybe 5 aisles of stuff with a butcher in the back.
And they had wood floors.
Yeah, and they were where they still exist? If you've ever gone to a lake town, in lake towns or places where you might go for a summer weekend or something, those places still exist. And they were all like the one that we went to was Lassen's or Lagan's. Lassen's or Lagan's, I don't know. Lassen's was a bar. I think it was Lagan's Market, and they were a part of something called the IGA. Did you have these? Like all of these, they were Independent Grocers of America. And it was like
I remember the 3 letters. I don't remember IGA, especially as a store, but I do remember the 3 letters.
Like it would say on the sign, Lagan's Market, and then in the bottom it would say member of the IGA. And I think the IGA was a formation of all of these little market stores in neighborhoods that was created to sort of join forces in order to buy in bulk because the new supermarkets and grocery stores were running them all out of business. So they had really weird brands. Like I remember Campbell's, or was it Campbell's, or I don't know, whatever it was. Raggedy Ann. Raggedy Ann was a brand of like you could get Raggedy Ann corn in a can, Raggedy Ann green beans.
Raggedy Ann.
Yes, it was something. Yeah, it was Raggedy Ann, and that was like the IGA brand that they bought in bulk, and all these stores had, but you couldn't get it anywhere else. And my grandma really liked this Raggedy Ann clam chowder soup, and you had to keep going. She was very angry. She didn't like going to the grocery store. So well into the 90s, they were still going to this little market because she liked the clam chowder. So even if you went to the big supermarket, you had to make a stop there because they were just brand. Yeah, different times, man. People, the 8-foot. As I said, Jody Dean, the legendary Dallas-Fort Worth radio broadcaster, he had this really interesting sort of rant on Twitter about the 8-foot privacy fence and how it changed the way we are neighborly in this country.
Eliminated the Mrs. Kravitzes of the world.
Well, you can still see them in the front windows, but yeah, what it eliminated was it eliminated knowledge. Like if you were in your backyard and somebody in the next yard was making noise or there was some kind of ruckus, you could see what was going on and you would just maybe go, ugh. But with the 8-foot privacy fence, when you started hearing what was going on, you couldn't see. So you were frustrated. What the hell are they? Those sons of bitches making noise again. Whereas if it was a chain link fence and you could see the kids playing in the pool, you might be okay with it. But it was not knowing. It was like the mystery of who are these people that live next door making all this ruckus. It's a very interesting theory, and I think it's probably true because we are not. Can I tell you that in the last 25 years of places I have lived, with maybe one exception, I didn't know who my neighbors were. I didn't. I've lived in condos, in apartments where people literally shared a wall, and I don't know who they were, but it's just strange. It's strange how it's like the death of the neighborhood. The 8-foot privacy fence is the death of America, the death of the American neighborhood.
It's true. As we've gotten older, like if I think of my childhood, we knew everybody on the street, like everybody on the street from intersection to intersection. East side, north side, whatever, both sides of the street, you could literally go in your mind, last name, how many kids, last name, how many kids, no kids, grandma, she doesn't give balls back if they go in her front yard. You know what I mean? Like, you knew all the little picadillos
You
of
knew the guy
everybody that
whose
was there.
lawn you didn't cut your bike across somebody's lawn because old man Johnson was kind of a dick about it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you knew,
And
even if you didn't like them, you still knew them.
and when you were a kid and you shot your mouth off to an adult, your parents found out.
Yes.
They like immediately, and that quelled a lot of mouthy kids from being smartasses.
Yep, I remember too, like, if you would do something like, ding, ding, knock and run or stuff like that, those people would come down the street to your house and rat you out to your
Yeah.
parents.
Let me stop you.
They'd wait till they got home from work.
What did you call it in Buffalo?
Oh, I can't remember. I what was it? Knock and run. I don't know.
Ding dong ditch.
Ding dong ditch. Yeah.
Okay, you called it that? All right,
Ding
very
dong
good.
ditch.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Because I've learned as I've grown older and moved different places around the country that there are things that I take for granted as a kid that I called that people are like, "What? What?"
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you'd have your own neighborhood games.
Right. Yeah. But they're all the same game, by the way. Just they have different whether it's kick the can or what smear the queer, kill the guy.
Right. Kill the guy with the ball.
Yeah.
That
Or
was
it
that
was
was
smear the
another one.
queer when I was a kid, but yeah, then we sort of changed. I don't know when. The other thing was so wait, I was thinking ding dong. Okay, so ding dong. Oh yeah. The big one that okay, so you grew up in a place with snow, right? What did you call it when early in the season, the first snow, when you would hide in the bushes, car would pull up to a stop sign, you'd run behind the car, grab onto the bumper, and basically water ski behind the car on the ice. What did you call that?
Gosh, I don't. I remember doing that vividly. Like,
Right.
we would do that essentially all year long. Bumper.
All winter long, at least.
Yeah, yeah.
Hardly do in the
Bumper
summer.
ski. Bumper ski. I don't remember. It's funny that you bring that up.
Hold
I
on,
do.
let me tell you what we called it. Let me tell you that. Okay, so I grew up calling it. Oh, now I don't even know. I don't wait, what did we call it? Because they're similar. So yes, okay, we called it in the Chicago area skitching. You went skitching. What'd you do? Were you out there with parents? Were you out there skitching on the corner? But I think down here or other
Well,
people.
there was nobody down
Yeah,
here
right,
doing
down
it.
here.
It would have been up in Buffalo. We did it all the time. I can't
But
remember
other
what we
people call it
called it though.
skeeching. Skeeching versus skitching. And I'm like, no, it's skitching. No, it's skeeching. And kind of skeeching makes more sense because you're skiing, but maybe it was just our accent. I don't know.
And not streaking. Because
No.
streaking was a thing back then too. When that kind of started when I was young, in teenage, people would streak through with the no clothes on.
Yeah, I missed out on that. I mean, that's the couple of year age difference that we have. You were probably in puberty and understood what was going on, whereas I didn't really pay attention to it because
Yeah, I was a little young for it, but it was like the college kids started streaking when I was, like you said, early in my teens. That was something. The thing that I remember, the neighborhood that we lived in, we had this odd intersection where somehow the streets didn't come together, like, parallel this way and that way. And there was this triangle of weirdness in the middle of the streets. And so they put like an old World War II artillery piece in the middle of this thing that you would drive around. And so when it would snow, immediately all the kids would go into this middle section and the plows would come, all around it and be throwing the snow up. And so you'd almost have like your built-in fort with a tank or with a piece of military equipment. And the kids would be inside there and we would make the snowballs and we would wait on the cars to go pull up to the intersection and take off. And then we would just bean the cars with the snowball.
yeah.
And one time I beamed this guy's car and I swear to God, Bruce Jenner got out of the car. The old days, Bruce Jenner,
Right.
when he was like an Olympian. and they would chase you. And this guy kept on and kept on. And I was thinking
Grown
about
men were chasing children in the snow
and tackle
then
you in
you'd
the
get a
snow.
whitewash. You get a
Yes.
whitewash.
And they'd stick your head in the snow and you'd get, oh, yep. Yeah, those are the days.
You know, one of the coolest things, my mom, I was blessed to have a really cool mom. Like, she wasn't like, I'm the fun mom, I'm the cool mom. Like, there were rules, you know, but she was cool about certain things that other moms may not have handled that well. Me and my friend, I think it was a guy who we see popping up in the chat room from time to time. He goes by Eric Matthew. And me and Eric were on our balcony, and in my balcony was a wonderful perch for bombing cars with snowballs. Now, it was stupid because it was my house. What do you
Right.
but we were 10 or 11. And Eric and I were out on my balcony, and it was a particularly big snow. So the balcony was covered with drifts, you know, so you could hide underneath the snow drifts. We'd shovel out the balcony, a little perch for us to sit in, you know, in all the snow. And we bombed this car, and just a boom, boom, both of these coming from high above because we're up on a balcony. Somehow, this particular guy saw exactly where it came from. Like, knew exactly what balcony. So he slams on the brakes right in front of our building, and he runs in because it was a 4-unit condominium that I grew up in. He runs to the 4-unit, hits all the buttons, so all the neighbors are now coming out. And my mom comes to the door and she answers it, and he sees her come out of the door that would correspond with the balcony that he believes it came.
Oh no.
So he marches right up the steps, and we're on the balcony, and now we got the window open, so we're listening to this, and we're trying to figure out, how can we get off the balcony? How can we get up? Can we jump down? Can we, we need to get the hell out of here.
There's no escape
because we are in trouble. And my mom saw him coming up the steps. She slammed the door in his face. She ran out to the balcony, and she goes, I don't know what bullshit you guys are into, but get out the back door now. And I ran. We ran out the back door. And as we were running out the back door of the condo, I heard her open the door and say, now, I don't know what you're talking about. There are no kids here. It was so, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool.
Mom covering for you.
You want to know something else my mom did that was really cool when I was like 21, 22 or something? My grandpa was sick, so he was really bad. So we were staying with him and taking care of him because it became a full-time job. And my friend Frank, who was in bands, I was managing bands at the time, and I was not smoking weed at the time. I mean, I didn't smoke weed until 24, 25, something like that. And Frank comes over, and he's a band guy, you know, he's a musician, you know, he's still a professional musician. This guy's never had a job. He's just been a musician his whole life. And he comes down to the basement where I'm living, and he's waiting for me we're going out on a Friday night. And a bag of weed falls out of his pocket right on the steps. And we're walking up the steps. And my mom looks and sees this bag of weed that fell out of Frank's pocket, and she just picks it up and hands it back to him. She's like, you dropped something, Frank. And he's like, oh, man. He had a high voice, and he was really kind of freaked out about it. And I was too. I mean, I couldn't.
Of course. It's probably the first time you've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I had seen it because I was managing bands, but
but like when I meant seen it, like with a guy that's teaching, like you're not expecting that.
Right. So, and I remember he was freaking out, and she just handed it back to him, and she looked at me. She not even a glare, just like okay. And then we walk out the door, and Frank's like, oh man, that's bad. I'm so sorry. And I'm going off on him. I'm like, what the hell, man? Do you know what I'm going to have to deal with passive aggressively for the next couple of weeks? She's going to make mentions of. She never mentioned it. She never mentioned it again. I mean, Frank was 23, 24. I was like 21. He was a couple of years older. So, I mean, we were grown-ups, you know.
Right.
Yes, she was. But man, those are like two examples that I will always. I have those stories loaded up for her eulogy when she dies.
Mom was so cool.
Yeah, mom was cool. She was, but not like, I'm the cool mom, I let the kids drink. You know, no, it wasn't like that. It was, she had rules, and she was a responsible mom. But on little nonsense stuff, she didn't get bent out of shape. She didn't, you know, she was just like, yeah, okay. She was a hippie. She smoked weed. You know, she knew what that was. So that was pretty freaky. All right, so there you go. We've talked a little small talk about the way life used to be. Ed, the third member of this three-headed monster here and owner, proprietor, creator of Radio Misfits Network, he would like to chime in with, yes, in Chicago, I was right. It is skitch like itch when you would drag yourself, you'd let a car drag you down the street. And then they'd never know it. You know, they'd start to accelerate and then you'd have to
Right.
on the back. Oh, no.
You'd be bumper surfing. And just be, yeah.
Yeah, well. Jennifer Martin says she enjoys the new innovation of having the grocery store coming to you, which is, kind of I guess it's a convenience, but I like the grocery store. I like to go to the grocery store.
Yeah, it's in reverse. Like you used to have to go to the grocery store. Now the grocery store comes to you. And then back in the day, the doctor would come to you. Now you got to go to the doctor.
Yeah. I think that should change, though. I think
should go back to the old way.
We
And
have an
he'd
idea
walk
of
in
the
with
house
his
calls.
bag.
Yeah, I think the pandemic and people isolating, and now with an incredibly aging population, the boomers are getting old. They can't be waiting, and kids don't want to drive their parents to doctor's appointments and wait. You know what I mean? It's just, ugh.
Well, but I think really what happened is technology forced you to have to go to the doctor's office because he has all his equipment there. He can't walk up with his bag and go, "Hey, I'm here." And so the level of medical care that you were getting when the guy comes by, he's got, what can you do with the bag?
Well, right, but for specific treatments, when you're seeing a specialist, I think you'll always have to go and use the special equipment. But if it's just a checkup, if you're just, if you're an 80-year-old who needs to go to the doctor every couple of months to monitor blood work or whatever it is, that can all be done at home.
That can be, sure.
Yeah, they can come to your house and they can take care of you. Ed and I, we've talked about this. Knock, knock, doc. Bringing the Uber concept and the Grubhub concept to doctors. Knock, knock, doc. All right, we've talked about that anyway. All right, let's get into some topics.
He's got the website. Knock, knock, knock.
Of course.
Right.
Of course. Let me make sure he's got it. I'm sure he'll chime in here. Ed says, since, I've been here, I've Instacart from Kroger 9 times. I've been to Kroger twice. But, Ed is not normal. I mean, Ed might be normal in 10 years, but he's ahead of the curve on this. Like,
it's every day there's a package at the front door. And I'm like, and then somehow when I order something, it always gets screwed up and it never shows up. And so I'm sitting here thinking, okay, that's my package. And I get there and like, nope, Ed. Yeah. It's just like I feel like I'm his delivery guy from the door to his room. Ed.
It's like we're running an Amazon distribution center here with the amount of trucks that are constantly pulling up. Although that's sort of slowed down, hasn't it? Since the studio.
Well, a little bit, but I don't think there's one piece of equipment that is in your studio or mine over here that wasn't delivered by Amazon. Like Ed didn't go out to a store and buy it. He just got on the internet and ordered it and just started showing up.
He said something to me late Saturday night, something that we needed for the studio. It was like late on a Saturday night. Yeah, we need this. I'm going to have to get that for you. It showed up Sunday afternoon. It was that quick.
Some days it's like within hours.
I know. It's crazy. I mean, look, Bezos gets crapped on, but he truly did innovate a whole new way that we exist.
And it's gotten where I rely now on Ed because he's so forward. I'm like, hey, Ed, how do we do this? And he's like, oh, give me a minute. Boom. And there it is. It's fixed.
We said we needed paper towels, right? You go to the grocery store to get paper towels. They were there in 5 hours. There was a whole thing of paper towels. No. Giant box of paper towels. Oh my God. Now we never have to buy. That's the other thing. Because you get the big bulk order. All right. So I guess we'll never have to order paper towels again.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's awesome.
All right. Let's check out some of the things that are trending here. We like to do this. This is what the whole point of this show is. A little small talk, a little companion piece. We like to give you all the things that people are talking about today so that you're, nice and prepped up for everything. Oh, yesterday was, remember, trending number 1 right now. Yesterday it was Venmo Me, where Venmo did their little promotion where you could, you follow Venmo on Twitter and then retweet the Venmo Me, and they'll drop some money in your account. That was yesterday. That was Venmo. That was trending number one. I didn't get any money. Thanks, Venmo. I guess I didn't make the cut. Today is Cash App Friday. Cash App is doing the exact same thing. Yesterday was Venmo, so today is Cash App. So if you have Cash App, all you got to do is follow them on Twitter and then forward something hashtag Cash App Friday, and they say they're going to throw some money in you. Okay, so there you go. 2K Day is trending. That's a gamer thing. I'm not really interested in it. Gamers share their early reviews of NBA 2K22, which launches on Friday. Also, see, this is just, I like, before we start. Oh, there's Ed. I think I asked a question.
Like, would it be a good segment to go through your Venmo and just read who paid who?
By the way, we do have we have knock knock nurse, knock knock nurses, and the other one is secret, so I can't really talk about that one. But yes, Ed has all of them. Like I said, this guy, every wild hair idea that we come up with, Ed owns the domain within a minute of us spewing it out. It's
right.
crazy.
I'm liking this. Like when I go to my Venmo and I look, I can connect who's doing business with who for what.
Yeah, that's an odd thing. But maybe that's just our generation. Maybe younger generation kids don't really care. I don't know. But yeah, I don't like to see your wife paid this dude. It's like, well, why are you paying this guy? What's this about? It just seems problematic to me. But I do like the ease of it. I do like, because I remember when I first moved to Texas, I had a bank that was a Chicago-based bank, and I couldn't cash checks into my bank from a bank in Texas because of governmental state line banking laws or whatever. So it was really inconvenient. I used to have to go to an Ace Cash checking place, and I would have to cash it all, and it's only lasted for a while. I finally got a bank here, but now that doesn't matter because of all of these money sharing things. My Venmo card, I use my Venmo card maybe not as much, but almost as much as I use my actual bank debit card. So, it's just easy. And then Venmo always gives you money back. I always see in my account, you paid $22 at Kroger. Venmo paid you back $1.99. And it's not much, but I'm like, oh, look at, I saved a little money just for using that card. And I know that's how credit cards work, but come on. This isn't really a credit card where I have to worry about making monthly payments. It's just, you know what I mean? It seems nice. I like it. I'm relatively new to the Venmo world within the last few months, but I really do like it. All right. So that's Cash App Friday is trending. Cash App is also, it's the Pepsi to Venmo's Coke. What's the other one? Zelle, right? We'll probably have Zelle Monday. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, Jake Tapper is trending. Hey, look, there's a lot of political stuff trending, a lot of vax stuff trending. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but I don't really want to, get into it. But Jake Tapper is trending here. Do you like Jake Tapper? He does the 3 p.m. show on CNN Monday through Friday, and then he's the host of State of the Union, which is their big Sunday morning show on CNN.
I like him. I think he's, he seems like he's a pretty straight shooter.
Yeah, and I don't know that I like him, but I used to like him, and I used to think that he was kind of a straight shooter. But it seems to me that he has been more affected than anyone else on CNN by the whole fake news, CNN, boo, that whole thing that erupted. Whereas people like Don Lemon just leaned the other way and went, yeah, F you, and got real radical about it, defending CNN. And then Anderson Cooper is just totally unaffected by it all. He just keeps doing his thing. I like Anderson Cooper the best on that network. Chris Cuomo is also a guy that sort of leaned in with Don Lemon into the, defending the homestead. But Jake Tapper seems to me like it bothers him that he was so critical of the previous administration so that now he has to show, see, I'm even, and he has to be hypercritical of the current administration, but it's not over from my estimation, it's not over the same level of things that are going on. You know what? Like Jake Tapper say things like an uninspired and tired looking Biden, because he wants to say that, because he needs to put that out so that the one MAGA guy that's still watching CNN, and by the way, that's not a thing. Nobody on the right is watching CNN, but it's like he's playing to them saying, see, I'm even handed in my criticisms. And he did that today. He went on the CNN morning show with Breonna Keeler, who used to be my Twitter friend, but she blocked me. I think I must have said something that she felt was bad for her career, so she stopped following me. Still my favorite. I still love you, Breonna. I think you're the best thing at CNN. He criticized Biden for the vax program, the new vax rules that he did yesterday. He said, here's the quote, I don't think scolding is the approach. There are these purveyors of misinformation out there, and they're not just on the right. Robert Kennedy Jr. is one of the most notorious ones. Biden's scolding the people that are being lied to as opposed to the liars who are telling the lies. So he's being criticized for saying, we shouldn't be mean on the unvaxxed. We shouldn't be mean on the people who refuse to accept the facts. We should be mean to the purveyors of the lies, which is true. But, I thought that everybody who's been listening to the show knows that I'm vaxxed, knows that I wear a mask, knows that I am super tired of this new pandemic world that we live in, and would like to do whatever it takes to try and get through it. It seemed like we were through it a couple of months ago, and then we all let our guards down, and the situation changed, and nobody in this country can handle when situations change. They always dig into, but you said before, it's like, yes, but shit changes. This is a fluid universe that we live in. New information. And it goes back to the old political thing. Well, back in 95, he said this, and now he's flip-flopping. Well, new information has come out. You're allowed to, right? Aren't smart people allowed to take new information and change? This is mostly applied to people on the environment. Like in 94, there may have been somebody that wasn't maybe even classified as an environment denier, who then in the 25 years of science that has come out since changes their mind. And they're a flip-flopper. They used to say, that's totally unfair. I change my mind all the time when I learn new things.
Well, yes, there are people that are rightfully called flip-floppers, but if there is new information, like you're saying, something authentic like that, then I think you should be able to change without hearing flip-flopper. Convenient bandwagon rider. You find that a lot with politics. Like, okay, he said this, and then this election, he's saying the exact opposite, and there is no new information. That's a flip-flopper.
Yeah. Okay. Also trending here, and it's been trending all morning on all the platforms, a combination of hashtag never forget or hashtag 9/11, obviously. 2021 this is the 20-year anniversary.
Right.
Seems like that hasn't been front-loaded in our consciousness. Like, I guess it's not an anniversary.
It's not a celebration. So
no, it's not. It's a commemoration. Is it a commemoration? What is it? It's not a celebration. It is an anniversary. I don't know what it would be. It is because it's okay.
Paying tribute
to specifically, I guess, to
fallen
the heroes,
the heroes, the 40s.
A remembrance. Let's call it that. It's a remembrance. It's a day of remembrance. But 20 years, I remember 10-year anniversary in 2011. And that was a bigger deal. I rember it being a thing that, it's a 10-year anniversary. Can you believe it's been 10 years? It's been 20 years. I'll tell you, for me, and sorry, I just lost.
So do you remember where you were when 9/11 hit?
Yeah. Well, how about you? Because I've told this story. Do you remember how did that unfold for you? on this day.
I remember exactly where I was.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was in my
Everybody
kitchen,
does.
at Shady Creek at the Plano house where you saw the big snake in the
Yeah.
backyard.
Yeah.
I was in the kitchen right by the fish tank, and there was the TV there, and I saw the building, and it was the first one. And then all of a sudden I saw the plane going into the second one. And I was like, this was no mistake. Like, at first you weren't sure.
Yeah.
Like, okay, maybe somehow the guy drove in the building some crazy way.
Cessna. The original reports was it was some drunk pilot in a Cessna who got lost, who wasn't flying with instruments and got blown into the building.
But then when the second plane hit, you were like, okay, this is not normal.
Nope. So, well, actually,
It was never normal, but it was like, this wasn't a mistake.
But even after the second one, I remember the narrative that was being put out. And I was watching the Today Show, something that somebody said in the immediate aftermath of the second plane that I thought was possible. And I was actually leaning into as being what I believed was happening, because the other aspect was unthinkable. The other idea that this is how war is now, this is what a terror attack, that was unthinkable. But after the second plane hit, I didn't immediately think that it was terrorism, because someone on the Today Show said, well, it seems like there's a problem with the air traffic control system. And I thought, okay, if these planes are like on auto, maybe maybe there is some computer. Y2K had just happened, and we were more reliant on computers. So I thought that was plausible.
Really? What do
Yeah.
you think? Stevie Wonder was driving the plane?
No. I thought that maybe there was a computer problem that was guiding these planes. The pilots were on. I don't know. I'm not a pilot, but somebody put that out there. Somebody of authority offered that theory in the immediate minutes following the second plane. And I thought, okay, I'm going to believe that for a little while, because that seems way more comprehensible to me than the alternative, which is that this is an attack, because I couldn't imagine that level of suicide attack. Like it was.
I hear you, but at the same time, I can't imagine looking out the front window of the plane as the pilot and going, oh, I'm going to follow the air traffic controller's instructions, even though I'm headed towards a building at an altitude that makes no sense.
Well, I don't know the proper terminology, but I don't think it was necessarily that he was following the instructions of air traffic control as much as maybe the computer was on autopilot.
Oh, so you thought that they had no control of the plane.
Yeah, I thought
and the plane was flying autopilot via some pre-recorded or some predestined route that they were given.
There was a glitch going on. And, the pilots go on autopilot and they go in the back and go to the bathroom. And, I don't know. Anyway, that's what I was hoping it was. And then the Pentagon happened, and you're like, okay, all right, these are very specific targets. I can see the World Trade Center had been bombed 9 years earlier, or 2092. Remember when they drove the truck bomb into the basement of the World Trade Center and tried to take it down then?
Right.
So I thought, okay, yeah, that's obviously been that's a classic on the hit list of terrorists in America. They've already tried that once. And in the Pentagon, well, okay. So I was doing the show, the late night show with Kelly at that point. So we were on the air. God, we were doing heavy lifting. It was like, I don't know, midnight to 6 a.m. or something. It was crazy. Like we were doing a big, the most fun I've ever had in radio was doing that shift with the overnight people, and the chat rooms were huge. Our chat room was huge. It was just a really cool sort of experience. And she lived really far from me, and she had the studio in her house. And so I would drive back from her house in Elgin to my house on the south side, which was almost an hour and a half drive every night, twice. Drive up there and then drive back. So I would never go right to sleep. So I would get home probably 7:30 in the morning, and I would immediately sit at my computer. My TV was behind me, and I would sit at my computer at a little desk, because this was back when there were no laptops. These were the big computers with the AOL connection. Remember that sound?
The compact.
Yeah, connecting to the internet. And it was the days of AOL. And I had a friend of mine who worked in the Sears Tower, and he instant messaged me and said, well, looks like my day is ending early. They're sending us all home. And I didn't think anything of it. I said, oh, that's good. Blew him off. I was busy doing something else. I was like, oh, that's cool. So enjoy your day. And then a couple of minutes later, my former producer in Chicago, Tom, sent me another AOL instant message. He said, are you watching this? And I was like, huh? And at that point, I looked up and there was a mirror in front of me that I could see the TV in the living room behind me. And I looked up at the mirror and all I saw was a static shot of the World Trade Center, Tower 1, the North Tower, with smoke pouring out of it. And I went, oh, that's interesting. Turned, sat on the couch, didn't leave for the next 16 hours or whenever it was that I had. I mean, it was, I remember exactly where I was. It was my friend Mike and it was my friend Tom who told me, because I wasn't really, today's show's on in the background. I'm not really paying attention to it, doing a cooking segment or some bullshit, whatever. But man, I those are the things. Okay, so I was thinking about in my lifetime that this 9/11, never forget, hashtag is trending. That's why we're talking about this. I'll never forget. I don't think anybody will, ever forget. But I say, I list it like this. So the 5 biggest events of my lifetime that I remember being absolutely shook by was 9/11 is first, without a doubt. Older people might remember Pearl Harbor, but I can't even imagine that Pearl Harbor was because we didn't have 24-hour news then. People found out about Pearl Harbor the next day on the front pages of newspapers, So, maybe that's a little different. Kennedy is another one that everybody remembers. Moon landing is a celebratory one that people remember. But 9/11 was my number one. And I'd say the number 2 one was January 6th. The insurrection of just this past year. That would be number 2 of the most shook news stories that I've ever seen. January 6th, I was like, are we still America? How is this going to end? I mean, there were moments where it looked really,
It was
really
dicey.
bad. Right. And as I've said before, I remember delivering pizzas on a slow lunch afternoon, watching the Soviet Union, the Kremlin buildings get stormed by people. And that was unthinkable. What do you mean the Soviet Union isn't a thing anymore? They're the second most power. They're a superpower. So that was big, but that didn't make my list. So it's 9/11, 1/6, then the Challenger explosion. I'll never forget that. That was a huge one. I was in my gym class and I was hanging out with the coach in the coach's office and it was on a TV and everybody knew that I was a space nerd. So I wanted to see the launch and we watched it live. Challenger. So 9/11, 1/6, Challenger, Columbine. Now I know that we've had crap tons of school shootings since then, but the way Columbine played out on afternoon television on live TV was, wow, that was horrifying. And the 5th one is one that I think people forget, but it was because I happened to be up late at night watching the news and it was a Sunday night. And that's the Country Music Festival in Vegas where the dude in Mandalay Bay just opened up and just started that. I mean, those are the 5 biggest events of my lifetime. 9/11 is certainly at the top. Do you remember any of those? Do any of those bring back instantly for you where you were when you heard?
All of them except I remember Columbine, but I don't remember where I was. Like, I remember that day, I was like, wow, this is really weird. School shooting, but particularly where I was, I don't remember. But I do remember I was stopped down for a while.
Now, how about Vegas? I imagine you didn't know about Vegas till the next morning because it happened late on a Sunday night, and I know
No, I didn't know about that until the next morning. Yeah, I though, like, exactly where I was, no, but when I did find out, it took about 4 or 5 hours for me to move. I would like get involved in like, oh, what's happening, blah blah blah, this news channel, that news channel, try to find out more. Trying to think of ones that really stick out in my when Princess Diana died.
Oh, that's
in the car accident.
That was a Saturday night, and I was getting ready to go out, and then my friends were waiting for me at the bar, and I was like, "Hold on."
I can
Like, I'm
there I
watching.
remember I was in Vegas when that happened,
Ugh.
and on the trip, so I do remember that. Trying to think some other ones. When Kennedy's playing, young Kennedy.
Yeah, but see that one, I remember that one vividly too because I was at a restaurant with my mom and my first wife, a steakhouse called Bogart's, and if you remember, that one played out over like 3 days. Like,
Mhm.
the first bit of story was his plane never landed.
Right, he was
And
it was missing.
right, and then it took like 3 days for them to finally go, "Yeah, he died." Another
Mhm.
Kennedy death. That was a big one too. That was one, I mean, not big, impactful, impactful on me personally, being my family was Kennedy crazy, Irish Catholic thing, they were so that was kind of big for my family.
Well, the Kennedy curse, I think, played into that too.
Yeah.
As many things as they've had happen, I think the media picked up on that as well.
Do you know, going back to the Vegas thing, and I only realized this afterwards. I'm not 100% certain, but I'm about 80% certain that the hotel room, the suite that that guy shot from, was the hotel room that I spent my wedding night in at Mandalay Bay. And I have pictures. I have pictures that I will show you of when, because we had this suite when me and my son's mom got married. We had this suite, and it was the corner suite, and we took all of these pictures out, and I specifically took pictures down below, and I'll show them to you. Actually, maybe I could pull them up, but it would take a little bit. We'll do that on a pillow talk thing if we ever talk about this again. But you can literally see we are the corner window. We are exactly at around the same floor that this guy was at. And directly below us is, at the time we got married, it was just a parking lot. It was just a paved out parking lot, but it's where that festival was. And I'm like, holy crap, I think we stayed in that room.
Well, you do realize that probably every floor in that building has the same suite.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why, because I looked at that suite too, and I thought, wow, I think I've stayed in something like that before, or I've been in that room before. But
But let me add
again,
something.
how many times I've been to Vegas, how many different hotels you stay at, you get one that you like, you get a certain type of room you like. They all ultimately look the same. The only difference is what floor you're on.
I do not remember exactly what floor we were on, but, and this was revealed in the aftermath, it was a wedding suite. It was a honeymoon suite. So I don't know if maybe there's 10 floors of honeymoon suites on that corner, but the dude that did the shooting was doing it from, and that's when I learned that. I went, holy crap, we stayed in one of those suites. And then I looked at these pictures that I had, and I was like, oh my God, because it's taken from the window that he shot from. And you see right
Probably
below
the
it, right?
same. Yeah, you're probably on the same side. I mean, and you could have very well, been in the same suite, but the floor plates are identical
Yeah.
probably until about the top two or three floors. And that's where you then have the unique penthouse suites where
Yeah.
now they've combined two or three rooms. Instead of having 20 rooms on the floor, there's only four, because the four rooms on the floor are 5,000 square feet with this room and that room. And they don't have any continuity to what each floor plate underneath it looks like.
So, more on the topic here of never forget trending. This is an interesting an interesting concept that was floated. This is from Sydney, Australia. The whatever the big Sydney newspaper is. This looks to be their version of the New York Times or something like that. What's it called? The Sydney Morning Herald. So I don't know. That sounds like a legit big paper in Sydney, right? I mean, it sounds like it's not, what I'm saying is it's not one of these made up things, and it puts out the theory 9/11's real legacy, the start of the age of online conspiracy theory. In this, I mean, we are ruined. We are destroyed by people's inability to trust our institutions anymore. Nobody trusts the government for anything. Nobody trusts the banks. Nobody trusts the FBI. Nobody trusts our elections. Nobody, all of the things that we need to be on board with in order to have a smoothly running society have all gone by the wayside because of the advent of easily accessible online conspiracy bullshit. And if you remember in this article here from the Sydney Morning Herald, lays it all out. Before September 11th, there was the Kennedy assassination conspiracy theory. There was the fake moon landing conspiracy theory. And that was basically it. Those were Roswell. Those were the big three that this small fringe group of conspiracy theory enthusiasts were all about for 50 years. And then we had this intersection of ease of spreading ideas, the internet. 2001, the internet was still relatively new. I mean, like I said, we were doing dial-up on September 11th, and I was using AOL chat rooms. So, I mean, it was new, and it was only after 9/11 where we got a whole new slew of conspiracy theories. Oh, we did it to ourselves. Or, oh, those buildings, those were detonated by the government because there were secret files in the FBI offices that they didn't want people picking through. All of that shit came about through internet chat rooms in the immediate aftermath of this happening. And now we've got Q. Now we've got everybody. There was a Mel Gibson movie called Conspiracy Theory, and it was about people who believed in conspiracy theories. It was Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts, came out in the mid 90s. And Mel Gibson was a kook who ran a newsletter. And that's how people shared conspiracy theories, subscribing to a newsletter that you read in the back of Cream magazine. It's like, you want to know the truth? Send it. So that's how it went. But then the internet came on, and anybody could just sit at their desk and read anybody's crazy thoughts and go, I kind of like that. I'm going to believe that. And 9/11 was the catalyst for false flags. There was no such thing as, that's a false flag. Sandy Hook, children died. And people say, no, they didn't. That didn't really happen. I mean, the Sydney article here says that that was the real legacy of 9/11, is that we suddenly became obsessed with not believing what we're told about anything.
I agree with that. I mean, if you think about, okay, the World Trade Center had the two planes go into it. There was then also the controversy about the other planes, the one that was headed towards Pentagon, the one that hit at the Pentagon,
that was a missile. That was a missile. That we fired that missile. We were looking for an excuse to wage a world war and create a new world order. We did that. We saw the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it definitely at that moment sprouted.
Flight
like
93.
It had wings, and internet just took off with all kinds of theories.
Flight 93, let's roll. These people are heroes. No, they're not. We shot that down. We just won't tell anybody. We scrambled F-18s, and we shot that thing out of the sky, and we can't tell people that because no one wants to say that we killed American citizens. They weren't heroes. Yeah, they were. Stop it. But every aspect of 9/11, there was some crazy conspiracy theory that made us think something opposite of what we'd actually seen. We saw this stuff. This article goes on to blame the 2005, not blame, but say that a very big part of it was the 2005 documentary Loose Change. Have you ever seen Loose Change?
I don't recall.
Crazy people like to talk about Loose Change. I've seen Loose Change. Loose Change, when it first came out, I saw it and I went, that's interesting. And basically, Loose Change is all about how this wasn't a terror attack. We did it. We did it. We were looking for an excuse to wipe out the Middle East. Well, how'd that go? 20 years later, we're bogged down in Afghanistan. So
that was not a good plan.
Right. And Loose Change, the subsequent sequels and all of that. I mean, when Loose Change first came out, it was an interesting documentary made by some documentarians that we didn't know about, and they didn't have reputations yet. And it was an interesting thing. Certainly provocative, certainly controversial, but boy, it seems on the up and up. And then all the subsequent Loose Change documentaries were backed financially by Alex Jones. So, it kind of lost some credibility with a lot of people. Yeah, my goodness. All right. So, I don't know what you do, I don't know how we ever forget. It was certainly the most impactful moment of my life, seeing that happen, feeling, I think I may have said this on the Pillow Talk thing. The the one, two, the two things that I remember from that day, because as I said, we watched that play out from 8 o'clock in the morning until midnight, whatever. I mean, there were people started digging people out, round the clock coverage, and rightfully so. But the two things that I remember was I had to take a break at like noon. I just had to get out of the house. So I took my dog out to a field where she could just go run for a little while. And the field was in a flight path from Midway Airport. And there was always airplanes. I mean, it was loud out there. They're one after another. There was always a plane descending over this field where we ran the dog in. And it was silent. It was absolutely silent. There was not a plane in the sky. And that was so eerie because it was at that point that I realized, oh my God, every plane has been grounded. There are no planes in the sky. This neighborhood is actually really quiet right now. And then after about 10 minutes, that's when I saw two military F-16s or F-18s streaking through the sky. And that shook me. I was like, there are military aircraft flying air cover over Chicago.
Yeah.
That was deep. That was deep.
What was deep for me was when I saw people jumping out of the building.
Can't watch that stuff.
I thought to myself, my God, how bad does it have to be inside that building?
Fire burns, man.
In order for you to just decide, okay, this is the way that I'm going to go.
Yeah, because there's a moment where you have to accept it. They actually had a moment where they said, okay, I am not going to survive this. What's the better way to die? Burn alive or free fall for 20 seconds?
Yeah, I just like that because that's not somebody that was planning suicide.
No.
That's somebody that had to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that stuck for me for days. Like I just kept on thinking to myself, how?
Like,
how could you do that? Like, but then how would you not do that? It was like this ping pong match that was in my brain.
Yeah. It was unthinkable that an American citizen with a probably a really great job, you're working in the World Trade Center, that's an important place for business in America. And you see these guys and they're wearing khaki shirts and their ties are like in the, yeah, that was rough. I last weekend I started watching the new Netflix documentary about it's like a 10-part series, 1 hour each or whatever, about how it unfolded and all of the things that happened on that day. And my kid started watching with me. He's 12 years old, and those scenes of people burnt on the street, scenes of bodies in the rubble, scenes of people standing in the windows, not jumping, but being 80 stories up and standing with the drapes blowing, and they're desperate for help. All of those things, I covered it up. I wouldn't let my kid see it. And he's not a ghoul. He's kind of like me, but it was also for me because I can't see that stuff. I don't need that level of proof. My mind is very creative. I already have these dark images that I've conjured myself. I don't need to see the fire department chaplain laying on the street in front because a piece of a plane or a piece of the building fell and crushed him. Do you know that story?
Mm-hmm.
He was just out there giving prayers to people, and a chunk of the building fell and killed him, and his body just laid there in the street. And then the building came down. And
I was watching part of the tribute this morning on, I can't remember which news channel it was, but the actual site of the World Trade Center is the grave for 40% of the lives that were lost, because 40% still don't have their remains. Like they had actually been burned to death or incinerated in such a way that they could not find their remains. And there was this, girl, she was 4 years old when her dad passed. she was at the World Trade Center, and that was, essentially what she said, where he was buried. They never got the remains back, and not only was she said she was a group of 40% of those people, 40% of the population was part of that group.
There was another interview that I saw, not on the Netflix doc, over the weekend on one of the news channels I was watching. It was a Port Authority police officer. But Port Authority is like the police department in New York that manages the seaports and the ferries, and they're based at the World Trade Center. That's where the headquarters of Port Authority was. And there was an interview with this guy 20 years later tomorrow. He was a Port Authority police officer, and he lost his legs. And you know how he lost his legs? He was standing outside the building when the first plane hit. We think about the people inside the building. What about the hundreds of people that were walking on the sidewalks underneath that when that shit started to rain down on them? I mean,
Right.
we rarely think about those people. The person waiting for the light to change. When, a giant, 300-pound chunk of building comes crashing down on them. What an unbelievably bad day. All right. So obviously never forget. I don't know how we're going to forget, but that's why that's trending today. Let's see. What else do we have here? Well, a lot of stuff. Not really trying to do a whole bunch of divisive stuff. That was a very nice moment. We were sort of brought together in the couple of days that followed 9/11. It only lasted a couple of days, but I remember both houses of Congress, the Senate and the House of Representatives, coming together on the steps of the Capitol and singing "God Bless America." Like, the crazy right and the crazy left hadn't been agitated to the point where they couldn't speak to one another anymore. And that was interesting. It didn't last long because suddenly people started pointing fingers. All right. Also trending today, the Big 12 is trending. Are you following all the madness going on? It's college football weekend. Tomorrow's a big day. The Big 12 has added a bunch of new teams.
So is it still 12?
I don't know. Don't we still call it the Big 10, even though there's like 16 teams in it? I don't think there's 12 anymore. So the Big 12 has lost starting in the 2025 season. That's the other thing. I thought when Texas and Oklahoma pulled out of the Big 12 to go to the SEC, I thought that happens now, right?
No, it was too late. I mean, they had already set the schedules, and it needs probably 2 to 3 years to undo what's already been scheduled.
Yeah, 2025 needs a whole bunch of years. A whole bunch. I guess it's because they're tied into TV contracts. So,
Sure.
But they've let them know before you guys sign another TV contract, we're getting out. We're gonna go with the SEC because we think we're gonna make a whole bunch more money. Now, for the Big 12 to lose teams like Texas and Oklahoma, that's huge. That's bad. That's because they are two of the biggies. But they've added today. All right, they've added 4. Lost 2, added 4. So that's a net gain of 2. BYU is joining the Big 12. Cincinnati, who is, I think, the number 6th ranked football team in the country right now.
That's a good add.
That's a good get. It's a real good get. And they've added another team that is, I don't know what conference they played in, but Houston. Houston is always competitive from time to time. At least they've, been known to be a pretty decent quarterback factory with, guys that can chuck the ball. And they've added University of Central Florida, which, it's a Florida university. So, they got athletes. I don't know, but they play in smaller divisions, and now they're going to be brought up to, a Power 5, the Big 12. So here, let's look at, where is this? So what is the Big 12 going to look like now? We'll see here.
Sounds like it's going to be the Big 14.
Yeah, let me see.
I just do math. You lose 2, you add 4, you add 12, you're up to 14.
I don't know why this isn't. There we go. Okay. So the Big 12, as it will look, is going to be with the absence of Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, it's still pretty good. It's all right. So we got Baylor in the Big 12. That's a competitive team.
In basketball.
What? Yeah. Well, I mean, then they have RG3. Isn't he from Baylor?
A while ago.
Okay. Well, okay. So they've been good, and they're not. Look, we're not talking about Southeastern Missouri Academy. This is Baylor's a name. It's a name. Iowa State, the Cyclones, who play in a lesser division than University of Iowa, who plays in the Big Ten. So they've always just been the little stepbrother. University of Kansas. Yeah, you know what? Now that I'm looking at this, it's going to be a much better basketball conference
Right.
than it's going to
Right.
be. Okay. So we got Baylor, we got Iowa State, we got University of Kansas, we got K-State. K-State can play some football.
Yes.
University of Oklahoma is gone. Still got OSU. Cowboys can play some ball.
And can play some basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. TCU can play some ball. I mean, they're not like a perennial top 5 team, but they're a top 20 team from year to year. TCU can play.
Sure.
Andy Dalton's alma mater. TCU, University of Texas is out, and they've got Texas Tech, Red Raiders. That can be a real college. That can be a real football team. West Virginia University, which I guess I don't know.
No, they've had teams in the past.
Didn't Michael Vick play at West Virginia, or did he play at Virginia?
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. All right, so yeah, so the new league is going to be University of Central Florida, Houston, BYU, and who was the other one? Cincinnati. That's it. Cincinnati, Houston, BYU, and University of Central Florida added to Baylor, Iowa State, University of Kansas, K-State, Oklahoma State, Texas Christian, TCU. Texas Tech and West Virginia. That's not a bad conference. If you got to lose Texas and Oklahoma, I mean, they seem to have done okay.
So are you the Big 14?
Got to be, right? Well, let me count it. Let's see. So we've added 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, Big 12. Oh, wait. How does that work?
How's that work if you lost 2 and added 4?
Hold on. 4. All right, so we've added 4, plus Baylor makes 5, Iowa State makes 6, Kansas makes 7, K-State makes 8, Oklahoma State makes 9, Texas Christian makes 10, Texas Tech makes 11, and West Virginia makes 12. What's going on here? Why is this not working out for me? I don't care. It's trending. You guys figure it out on your own. We're going to move on.
It's like our kids' math problems that they bring home now. Like nothing makes sense the way that it used to before. It's like math changed, but somehow the answers are the same.
All right, this is fun. More college football related trends. Ashton Kutcher is trending today. Do you know thoughts on Ashton Kutcher?
I like him.
I like him a lot. And look, not just because he's probably our most high profile and vocal Bear fan in Hollywood these days. We still got Bill Murray, but he's not as loud as Ashton Kutcher. But Ashton Kutcher, I never watched that 70s show. And what I remember from that 70s show was that he was kind of like the dumb guy. He was the hot, dumb guy as opposed to the hot, dumb girl. He was like the male Suzanne Summers of that show. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Chrissy from Three's Company.
Mm-hmm.
So, but here's the thing. He's not that guy. He's actually super smart. And he's a really smart business guy. And it's a saying now to say he's got Ashton Kutcher money. This guy, he was ground floor on, Ed will probably correct me on this. He was ground floor on Uber. He was like he was ground floor on Twitter. He was like one of the first people to get 1 million followers. He is produced. There are dozens of highly acclaimed television shows that are out right now in this golden age of television that you see executive producer Ashton Kutcher. So it's like he stepped away from being an actor and he's now freaking Dick Clark. He's like a damn mogul in Hollywood. And what started it all off was Punk'd. Remember the phenomenon that the show Punk'd was?
I think what started it all off was Demi Moore.
Well, hey, you know what? He was with we probably need to look at maybe Ashton Kutcher's dating record as well, because he's had everybody from Demi Moore to Lindsay Lohan to now he's married to Mila Kunis. He's had some pretty good swings at the plate as well.
And I think for his age, dating up like that put him on the map in a different way.
Put him at cocktail parties with Hollywood people who were much older and maybe could act as mentors to him.
Exactly. And got him into things prior to other people his age getting into things.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I have that's a weird situation there because they're all still friends. Like he was in Demi Moore's life during the formative years of all of the Bruce Willis, Demi Moore kids. So those kids all love him. Bruce Willis loves him. They're like best buddies. They go on dude trips together. Bruce Willis and Ashton Kutcher. Even now that he and Demi have, broken up and he traded, I'm not going to say traded up, but he got younger at the position. We'll put it that way.
Yes. Yeah. He definitely got younger. Definitely got younger at the position.
He had Milfy Demi Moore in her 40s, and she held together. He had striptease era Demi Moore, right? Or no, maybe it was a little bit after that, but still, it was pretty good. Good
he was definitely swinging over his skis at that point. Circling back to the chat room, it says Big 12 only had 10 teams with OU in Texas. Hashtag math is hard.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. That's why we're back up. Now it is legitimately, again, the Big 12, which is fine. So why is Ashton Kutcher trending? Well, because students at Iowa State University are taking the piss out of him because ESPN has decided, ESPN Game Day, it's always the big showcase game of the week, college football season. College football season has just started. They're in Ames, Iowa tomorrow for ESPN College Game Day, and it's Iowa State, home game for Iowa State, taking on their hated cross-state rivals, the Iowa Hawkeyes. So it's Iowa versus Iowa State. And ESPN Game Day always likes to bring in some notable personality tied to the region or tied to the area. And in this case, it's Ashton Kutcher, who grew up and spent his entire life in Iowa. He's an Iowa boy. It explains why he likes the Cubs and the Bears, because they don't have teams there. They have to like the next team over. But ESPN has picked Ashton Kutcher to be the guest celebrity picker up there on the dais, knowing full well that Ashton Kutcher is a diehard Iowa Hawkeye fan. Like, he wouldn't even, it's not even, so people at Iowa State are like, are you kidding me? Are you? And they're saying ESPN is trolling us. And so tomorrow, during the game day broadcast, there is a movement on the campus of Iowa State to drown out everything Ashton Kutcher says during his time on campus. Because, the people are always behind him.
Sure. He's going to be the Lee Corso with the helmet.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure
with the mascot head.
Is Lee dead? Or is Lee still here, right?
He's still here.
Yeah. I think I just recently saw him doing the mascot head thing. All right, that's his bit. Ashton probably won't steal that. But tomorrow, if you're watching on game day, there is a call to drown out every word that is spoken on the dais the minute Ashton Kutcher takes his seat. So and there's going to be signs. Oh, it's going to be hateful because you can't have. He's a very well-known Iowa Hawkeye supporter. I mean, that's where he went to school.
I mean, it's almost like having somebody that played for the team come in to pick against the team.
Yeah, so people are very upset about that. All right, so that's happening tomorrow. Let's see, we covered 9/11. Let's see what else is trending here. Big 12 still. Oh, Kim Jong-un is trending. Have you seen this? Why Kim Jong-un is in the news today?
I can only imagine.
Big military parade. Apparently, it was the North Korean 4th of July or, some national holiday. And they do this big military parade. And Kim Jong-un, if you remember, probably a year ago now, wasn't he on his deathbed? Didn't something go tragically wrong in some surgery that he was having? And
that was the rumor. And then his sister started showing up everywhere and he was nowhere to be found. I thought he was possibly going to check out.
Well, his sister is Kim. I don't know what her name is, but have you seen his sister?
A few times. She's better looking than him.
There's something real sexy about her. There's something real sexy about this horror. She's supposed to be even worse than him.
Evil. I think you just she's like Cruella de Vil. You like her because she's just evil.
Well, no, I don't think that's it. I mean, I like Asian girls and the Asian features anyway, and she's educated in the West, just like all of them were, and she's a little bit. She's got like she wears her little business suits and they're tight, and she's tiny and petite, and she's pretty. She's a pretty girl. I mean, obviously, the dad Kim Jong Il probably had hot women, right? I mean, like he was a dictator. If he was going to pick a woman, I've never seen the mother, but I imagine because Kim Jong Il wasn't a good looking. You're working for the masculine genes are not great. They're pudgy and doughy and short, crazy. So there's all of that going on. So I think that maybe she's taking after the mom, and she's there's something about her that I'm very attracted to this heir apparent to the dictatorship that is North Korea. At any rate, she was supposed to be the one calling the shots. He was dead, and they didn't know how to break it to the world. And then that story just went away. And yesterday at a military parade, Kim Jong Un made his first public appearance in a very long time, at least for Western cameras, to be able to see him and show up on the CNN news. And oh my God, he's bringing sexy back. Everybody on Twitter, not everybody, Fox News, some dumb chick on Fox News described him as looking fantastic. And she was like, totally.
Has he lost a bunch of weight?
Well, yeah, he has. He's lost a bunch of weight.
Well, then maybe it's something to be said. He was sick for a while.
Yeah. And apparently he has stopped smoking. Dude was said to smoke 5 packs of cigarettes a day.
Well, that's almost like Asian heritage.
Yeah, right? They start smoking at like 4.
Mm-hmm. And just keep going.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's almost like when they're breathing, they're smoking.
Every Vietnamese person I've ever seen portrayed in a Vietnam film is smoking a cigarette throughout the entire movie.
If you ever go to Vegas and gamble, like the smoking sections, particularly like the Asian games, Pai Gow poker and things like that, it's nothing but a smoke screen. It's just like haze just kind of going up, and there'll be one in the ashtray just constantly smoking.
I mean, we think Americans smoke a lot, but yeah, the Asian countries, those people love to smoke. You know who else loves to smoke? Everybody smokes. England. Everybody in England smokes. Everybody. It's like here in America, we think a lot of people smoke. Yeah, maybe not so much anymore. I mean, it's definitely different from what it was when we were growing up.
Well, I think more people smoke now with vapes than ever smoked before.
Do you? I don't know. I bet you could I bet we could Google that. We could find out. But yeah, that's.
I vape every now and then.
Do you really?
I don't know why.
Well, because you don't smoke.
I never smoked before, and I stopped smoking weed. So maybe it's kind of like the cessation of smoking.
When I stopped smoking the weed, I had transitioned a couple of times to vaping the weed, which I found to be far more enjoyable, far more. Everything didn't reek of pot smoke.
Well, yeah, I vaped the weed. I never really smoked the weed. I always vaped the weed, and so then I switched. I think maybe just to vaping cigarettes.
But then, and you may have noticed, knowing me, I know that my son has noticed, I chewed tobacco for like 30 years. And I also recently decided to stop. Look at that. There you go. That's his vape pen. I recently tried to stop smoking tobacco, and I bought a vape pen. And I bought 1 cartridge, and I just found it to be so disgusting. See, that is just, I get it's not smoke and that's better for your lungs, but that's just smokeified spit. That is a vapor. It's wet. It's even worse. At least smoke is dry. Yes, smoke will make your clothes smell funny, but there's something gross about vaping. Yeah, I don't. So I couldn't do it. I stopped. And yet here I am. You may have noticed in incarnations of Pugs past, I would be doing these shows and I'd have a spit bottle and I'd be doing that. I don't. I used to buy a can of dip every day. Now I buy 1 can a week. And
that's good. I mean, the fact that you've gotten away from dipping, I
still do from time to time. But, and again, not a commercial. I've shared this before. These things are amazing. These are non-tobacco, because it's the tobacco that causes the cancer and all that stuff. These are just non-tobacco little nicotine pouches. And if I start to have a fit during the show, like start to feel a little bit weird, I can just under the table just do that and put one in, and you can't tell because with a dip you got a big dip in your mouth. But these are brilliant. And you know what these cost? Because they're not tobacco. Tobacco is heavily taxed. A can of chewing tobacco costs like $7. A pack of cigarettes costs what? $9, $10? I don't know. This is $1. $1
to get your nicotine fix.
Yeah. And it's, I'm trying to make wholesale changes in my life, and not being a guy my age with a spit cup in his hand all the time, I think that's a bit juvenile. So I'm trying. All right. So where were we at?
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
Ashton Kutcher.
Sexy Kim. So he's trending because somebody in Fox News was describing him as sexy and kind of cooing over him like he's this harmless character.
The way that you cooed over his sister.
Yeah. And then they used... Look, she doesn't have any real pop. Well, I mean, I'm sure she's been horrible, but we know the horrible things that the men in that family have done. I'm sure she's a total bitch. I'm sure that she's just mean.
But a sexy one that you like.
But sexy. I'm a heterosexual guy. I think I think she's got a little something. So he's trending because someone on Fox News started describing him as sexy and started acting like, oh, this is a fun, mindless entertainment piece. Look at him. Look at that suit. The suit looks so nice. And then, of course, one of the guys was, it's probably not him. He's probably dead as the body double, because that's what they do over there. Everything's got to be a Q conspiracy. Right?
Well, I mean, we heard Melania had a body double.
Yeah, I wonder if that's true. Do we utilize those kinds of things in this country? Do we have... Because there were times when they said, you Trump, that's not Trump. That's just a guy who looks like Trump.
Yeah, there was definitely lots more that's not Melania than that's not Trump, but yes.
Speaking of that, it just reminded me of something. Have you ever seen Melania's dad?
Never.
He looks just like Trump. He looks just like Donald Trump. He looks like a Russian Donald Trump. Same shape, same height, same kind of weird hair, same color hair. I'll pull up a picture of Melania's dad, and it's like so weird. It's like she married her dad.
Daddy issues.
Oh, something. All right, we don't need to go into that. She's a beautiful woman, first lady. She's out of the movie. Don't have to talk about her. All right, so jerseys. Hashtag jersey was trending earlier today. It's because we're kicking off the NFL season. And every year before the season, they like to rank the most popular jerseys in all of NFL. So what, according to NFL.com, which jerseys are being purchased the most? Do you have any guesses?
I would imagine Buccaneers.
No, players, not teams, players. So what players are the most popular jerseys being purchased at NFL stores or NFL online and NFL affiliate stores?
Okay. Josh Allen is going to be up there.
Number one. Josh Allen is the number one. They only listed the top 5. Josh Allen is the number one best-selling jersey in the NFL as of today.
Yep. They got me.
You got another one?
Well, I would imagine Justin Fields.
Number 4.
All right. So I've got 2 out of the 5 with 2 guesses. I would think Patrick Mahomes still.
Number 5. Bringing up the rear, number 5 in the top 5 jersey sales. Patrick Mahomes is 5. Josh Allen is 1. Justin Fields is 4. Give me 3 and give me 2. You'll never get 2. 2 is a mind blower.
Tom Brady's got to be in there.
That's your number 3. So number 5 is Mahomes.
So
number 4 is Fields. Number 3 is Brady. Number 1 is Josh Allen. So you need 4. Number 2. This is the hard one. This is one that I went, what? That's a joke, right?
Tebow, even though he got cut.
No, but that's a good guess. Yeah, a Jaguars Tebow jersey. I bet there's dudes out there with him. Yeah, that's a good guess. It's another quarterback, and it's another quarterback who has never played it down in the NFL. Regulation game.
Oh, then that would be the kid from Alabama. Plays for the Patriots.
You don't think it would be Trevor Lawrence, the number 1 overall pick? So you're going Mac Jones over Trevor Lawrence.
Mac Jones, only because of the Alabama and the Patriot Nation.
Mac Jones is number 2. Yeah, you're right. I'm surprised Trevor Lawrence wasn't in there. That's why I tried to give you a red herring there to make you get off your position. Top 5 NFL jersey sales heading into the first week is number 5, Patrick Mahomes. Number 4, Justin Fields. Number 3, Tom Brady. Number 2, Mac Jones. And number 1, Josh Allen. I will also say this about these lists. These are all cool jerseys just in general. Like if someone was just going to buy a team jersey, these are jerseys that are the Buffalo Bills jersey is really splashy and looks good on people with the red, white, and blue. Patriots got the red, white, and blue. Mahomes, Kansas City, those are cool jerseys. The white with the big red and the orange, that's a good look. And Brady is Tom Brady. I don't think that those are particularly cool jerseys down there. But he's Tom Brady. I mean, we saw Tom Brady last night. We know he belongs in there somewhere else. And the Bears are like one of those like Bears and Packers, just traditional. They always sell big in NFL teams because they're like the Yankee pinstripes. They're just like old school and traditional, haven't changed much over the years. So that's I'm surprised. I wanted to see the next 5 because I would be interested to see like where does a guy. I mean, where does Aaron Rodgers fit in there? I see in the Chicago area, I see a lot of Aaron Rodgers jerseys because we're so close to Green Bay and,
But I think it's got to do with your time in the league. I mean, there's only a certain amount of jerseys that you're going to have in your closet.
Yeah.
And so if you've got an Aaron Rodgers, are you going back this year and buying more? Probably not.
Yeah, maybe, but and I guess Tom Brady has, it's a new team.
Well, he switched teams. And so that's legitimately why I thought that he would be in that list. Josh Allen, I figured because of the new contract, because of last year. I mean, in particular, I stopped buying Bills quarterback jerseys.
After the Tyrod Taylor
or EJ Manuel, or I've got I can go in my closet right now and bring out probably 3 of them that I have.
I know you got a Fitzmagic jersey in there somewhere.
No, I don't have a Fitzpatrick jersey.
No?
But yeah, because I quit before that. EJ Manuel.
You got a Kelly jersey? You got to have a Kelly jersey. How could
I had a Kelly jersey, and I wore it so many times that for somewhere, and it got lost somewhere. I don't know, but I don't. I would get another Kelly jersey.
Yeah.
Just to have.
That's like me. I will always have, I got one hanging right now in my room, and then my kid has, I will always have a Walter Payton jersey. Always. If there's a new, if somehow, like I had a white and a home and away Walter Payton jerseys. I gave them both to my kid. Once my kid got old enough, because they were, and now he wears them, and I went and got a new Walter Payton jersey. So, I mean, if I lose that one or if a tear comes into it, I'll get another one. Same with Gale Sayers, though. I got a new Gale Sayers, too.
This is a good topic for me to bring up right now because I've been debating this in my mind.
Okay.
So my kid's football coach is Charles Haley Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be
Junior, not the crazy Charles Haley?
Well, but it's his dad,
yeah.
and he got to meet his dad at camp during the summer, and I'm sure his dad will probably come to one of the games. Would it be bandwagon jumping of me now to get a Haley jersey?
100%. But that's you. You are a front runner. You are a bandwagon jumper. I've always said this about you. So for you, it would be completely in character. Yes, go ahead. Get it.
But legitimately, if you come to know a player during his career or after his career and you like him, why can't you then wear his jersey?
You can. There's nothing wrong with it. I feel weird going on. Like, I have a lot of cool sports jerseys and memorabilia. I've got a Jordan warm-up that I will always keep that I love, but I won't wear them out in public. And I stopped a few years ago wearing football jerseys and stuff. Like, I'll wear a football jersey like out to the lake, or if I'm in a pool and I need something to pull over afterwards. But if I'm going out like shopping, I won't go shopping as a 50-something-year-old man wearing a little, like, look at me, I play for the team. I feel something. With that said, I have T-shirts that I wear every day that designate the teams I like.
So
Bears.
you wouldn't go to a bar on a game night with your
No.
Bulls jersey on or your Bears jersey on or something like
Oh,
that.
man. See, what are you doing? Because now I'm thinking, if okay, so my White Sox are going to the postseason. So if we get into the postseason, we end up going somewhere, I'll definitely wear a hat, but will I wear my 1980s Carlton Fisk jersey? I don't think I will, man. I don't think I will. I think I feel silly at this age wearing jerseys.
That's the whole reason I buy them.
Yeah, no, I know,
Is
and it's good that you're comfortable with it. I just, I'm a wreck. I just think, people, my belly,
are you
fat guy wearing
afraid
a
to
number
go? Well, I mean,
34.
they don't look at you and go, "Oh, former player. Oh,
No,
it's
I
that
know.
Fisk."
But what am I trying to pull? What am I pretend? Is it pretend time? Am I out here pretending like I think I'm suit up, grab a helmet, they're gonna throw me? I just feel silly about that. It's also the whole thing about, I know grown men who go to baseball games religiously and they bring a mitt. I'm like, oh, you little bitch. What are you bringing a mitt to a baseball game? What are you, 12 years old? And maybe that's me. Maybe that's the magic of these things, that they instantly transport us back to a more carefree time when we were kids. So maybe I shouldn't be so judgy. But for me, I just feel T-shirt is fine, ball cap is fine. But once you start wearing the jersey, and the other thing that I always think is funny, it'll inevitably, you see this with cowboy guys all the time. It'll be some big, fat, 380-pound guy wearing like an Emmett Smith jersey. Like, oh yeah, you're a running back. Oh, sure.
Oh, so you think that you at least need to buy a jersey
No,
consistent with your body type?
number appropriate. Yes, I think you should wear a number appropriate jersey. If you're a big fat guy, you shouldn't. You should be wearing a lineman's jersey.
O line or D
Yeah,
line guy?
I'll even accept middle linebacker numbers from a great big guy. But don't give me a, you're not number 10. Okay, you're not a quarterback. You're not.
Don't wear the Cole Beasley jersey if you're plus 3 bills.
No. Hey, by the way, I know Cole Beasley's one of your guys, but I heard.
Now,
Yeah, he's one of your guys now. He's one of these vax denier trouble guys or whatever is going on. I don't know what it is, but somebody on the ticket, which is a sports radio station here in town, they refer to him as a branch Covidiot. Which, Cole Beasley, he's a branch Covidiot. I thought that was
SMU alum
so
too.
clever. Yeah, a hell of a ball player.
Yeah.
You can't take that away. Look, you gotta measure everybody by each individual pages of their life's diary. He's a hell of a football player.
So all right, so we're talking about weight appropriate.
Okay.
Does the jersey need to be race appropriate?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. Not at all. Because then, let's be honest, white guys would wear very little sports apparel. We'd all be walking around in Andy Dalton, Tony Romo jerseys.
Well, just you have some weird picadillos in your head about what you can do. I just wondered if age and race had anything to do with it.
I'm not racially minded, so I wouldn't even think of that. Until now, you just brought it up. But I wouldn't think oh, he's not a black guy. That's a black guy's uniform he's wearing. Nah, I don't think like that. Although maybe, no, but it really does bother me, the numbers. Like, why are you walking around pretending like you're a halfback in the NFL? You're 60 years old and weigh 300 pounds.
I love Adam's comment in the chat room. So he can't wear his Ocho Cinco jersey, well, according to you?
No. Let's be clear. These are my rules for me. Now, I will judge you silently, but I'm not going to say anything to you in public. Wear what you want. I'll just be like, I couldn't pull that off. I couldn't. And like I said, the jerseys that I have Walter Payton jerseys. That look ridiculous on me. Like, I'm walking around like, look at me, 34, sweetness. No, I could wear a Jimbo Covert. I could wear a Jay Hilgenberg. I can wear
Jim Dent.
Richard Dent.
Richard Dent.
I could wear that. I could wear a 99 Dan Hampton. I could wear any of those, but I just wouldn't feel comfortable wearing. Like, here's a problem. Number 4 selling jersey in the league right now, Justin Fields. I really want a number 1 Justin Fields jersey, but I won't spend $150 on a jersey that's just going to hang in cause I won't wear it out. My son will. Maybe that's how I do it now. I buy stuff for him because he could wear a Justin Fields number 1 because he's still a kid. We don't know what he is.
Yeah. See, now the number 1, that number for some reason speaks to me that it should not be on everybody.
I think it was Mike Reiner, another legendary Dallas radio personality, tweeted something yesterday while watching the Cowboys-Broncos game. Mike's a little prickly at times. He does not like the anybody can wear any number thing. He does not like that. And that's a new thing that happened this year in the NFL where we're seeing number 1s and we're seeing whatever. We're seeing wide receivers who are typically 80s numbers, wearing college receiver numbers like 2, 4, whatever.
I feel like if you're 225 pounds plus, you should wear an 01. You just can't have a 1.
You just have the 1.
You just need to have like an O and a 1, and then that would be, weight appropriate. But I think seeing a 1 on somebody that's 250, 300, that would seem really odd.
Okay, so you understand.
Only with 1.
Okay, only with 1. But
yeah, single digits. Like single digits to me do not seem like they should be people that are 250, 225 plus.
All right. So here's another thing that was trending this morning that I wanted to talk about. I love this story. Here, we'll pull this up. Let me see if I can find it now. It was
Adam is killing me.
Adam's good. I appreciate Adam being here. Here, let me pull this up and we'll go over this because this is another sports related topic. Well, it's going to be a big sports weekend we got coming up here, so why wouldn't we, right? It's oh no, I can't find it. Gotta wait for it to load. Oh my god. Hold on. All right, just gotta wait for everything to load up here. So what was trending was angriest fan or fan base, hashtag fan base. So they did an online accounting of what fans of which teams are the angriest. and how they did this was they went on fan Twitter, like I'm very active on hashtag White Sox Twitter. And that's all people just talking about White Sox games. I also, in years past, I've been very active on hashtag Bear Down Twitter. For you might end up being active on hashtag Bills Mafia Twitter, which is another big Twitter presence in the sports world. So they went through all of these different teams and their sports tweets, Twitter handles, whatever. Come on.
I already got my pick for the angriest fan base.
Oh, here it is. Okay. So, Action Network headquarters, which is they work with pro sports leagues to determine the brand awareness and all of that of their teams. They did this and they took America's sports teams that received the most negative sentiment online. It's important here by their fans. This isn't just people. This isn't like, Cowboys fans hating Eagle fans. This is like Eagle fans talking shit on their own team. Like which fan bases are the least happy currently as of right now? And I don't know why number 1 at 14.2% of all comments about this team are negative from their fan base. That's the Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders are the most hated team they have the most disgusted fan base. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this properly. The most disgusted fan base.
Recently left Oakland.
Oh, that's great. I forgot about
for Vegas.
Yes. Okay. And those
that's got a bunch of people mad.
Yeah.
They're not that good.
Rolling out Derek Carr. He's not all that popular.
Well, I mean, John Gruden hasn't really, lit the world on fire over there since he came back as the Raiders coach. Mm-hmm. So that one makes sense to me.
So the Raiders are number 1. Number 2 was a shock. Do you know who the number 2, and you might be able to speak to this because this is an NHL team, but this is the second most upset fan base, the second most shit-talking fan base about their own team. Do you know who it is?
After this year's performance, I could see it being the Toronto Maple Leafs.
It's the Dallas Stars.
Really?
Dallas Stars fans, 9.8% of all comments on Dallas Stars social media platforms by fans are negative, not almost 10%. So one in 10 is, we're going to have a great season. Oh, I can't wait. This is going to be awesome. Man, this is going to be fun. This is going to be, you really suck. I hate this team. It's just a one. And that's a lot because fan bases are typically, blinded by their love,
I guess if I'm looking at the Stars team in the pandemic that went to the Cup Finals, lost to the Lightning, and then missing the playoffs this year, I could see because there were a lot of times this year that you felt like, man, they had it and then they just would lose it, and so maybe.
So
I wouldn't. That obviously was not my guess, though.
So the top two are the Las Vegas Raiders and the Dallas Stars. And again, this is over the last 4 weeks. So ending, I guess, this week sometime. So recent situations surrounding these teams certainly play a part in it. So we've got the Las Vegas Raiders, the Dallas Stars. Next is the Arizona Coyotes. I don't know much about them, but are they a bad team?
Hockey team. Yeah, they've had their issues.
Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, now, for sure. Yeah, I would have thought they would have been in that was actually my guess.
Yeah. So, and especially over the last couple of weeks since, they've been having the trade issues with, Simmons, and he won't go here, and they want to get rid of him and they don't want to get rid of him. He can't shoot. He can shoot. He's very divisive, and Embiid just got a big deal. So he's sticking around, but maybe people think they paid him too much for a guy that really, he's great, but if you're not winning things, maybe you want to rebuild. So there's a controversial fan base. There's a controversial stuff going on with that team anyway. So it's Las Vegas Raiders, Dallas Stars. And remember, this is the last month. Las Vegas Raiders, Dallas Stars, Arizona Coyotes, Philadelphia 76ers, and my Chicago Bears.
Oh, of course.
Behind them.
Gotta be there.
I am very active. We are disgusted with this. Andy Dalton is starting and not Justin Fields after every battle in camp being decisively won by Justin Fields. Matt Nagy, the head coach of the Bears, made a promise to Andy Dalton when he signed here as a free agent that you will be our starter week 1. And despite being outplayed in every aspect of training camp, he's sticking with it, and Bears fans are really pissed. And they hate the manager. They hate the general manager, Ryan Pace, and so I totally get this. They just hate it.
What's going to happen if the Bears win on Sunday with Dalton as the quarterback?
Edward Silla, like I'm reading him like he's in the chat room. Ed helped us out with the Coyotes and why they're number 3. Coyotes are being kicked out of their arena after this season, and nobody knows where they're going to play. So that could certainly play into a fan base that's a little bit edgy, a little bit angry. I'm sorry, what was your question?
Well, what's going to happen if Dalton wins with the Bears this week? There's going to be a lot of guys with fantasy teams that are going, why did I draft Justin Fields?
Here's the thing. They're not going to win. They're going to get, I believe the game, it's going to be 31-10. I think Andy Dalton is a fine quarterback if he had a really good team around him, a really good offensive line. And as we talked about last night, if you could find a pocket to stay in. Andy Dalton doesn't have that. Andy Dalton doesn't have the wheels to get. We've got a terrible offensive line. Our first-round draft pick, left tackle of the future, had back surgery 2 weeks ago. We drafted another bum lineman who immediately after being drafted, I'm going to miss the whole season. I'm having a couple of rods put in my back. It's trash. So what's going to happen if they win? I don't believe they will, but I'll play your little game with you. It's just putting off the inevitable. They know who the franchise quarterback of the future is.
So you're more interested in seeing Justin Fields play than you are in the Bears having a winning record.
Well, that's very interesting that you put it that way, because there is a Chicago sports radio talker by the name of Danny Parkins who got ratioed earlier this week because he posted a tweet saying that I am betting against the Bears and I will be actively rooting against the Bears having success on Sunday. And then he goes into the reasons why, because any success for Andy Dalton, no matter how hey man, even a blind squirrel gets a nut. It's just putting off the inevitable. And Bears Nation basically went to town on him. Like, if Andy Dalton's playing well, and I kind of get that. But man, I don't know. This is why we're number 4, because we're all so torn about what the hell is going on. We're just,
but don't you have like any thought that you throw him in too early? He doesn't know what he's doing. He's playing awful. Then he's going to lose part of the fan base.
you don't think that Dalton?
No, Fields.
Well, but the reason that he's got a better arm, he's just got better all tools. He's younger. He doesn't have the ability. He's not look. Andy Dalton can read a defense. He can make checkdowns. He knows how to you know what I mean? He's a smart quarterback. He's never been a terrible quarterback, but he's towards the end of his career. He had some wonderful years in Cincinnati. He was fine last year with Dallas. That's why we got him. We're like, okay, that guy looks really serviceable. Well, we could actually play with that guy. But the problem is our offensive line. Andy Dalton cannot survive with a bad offensive line, whereas Justin Fields absolutely can. A breakdown in the offensive line for Justin Fields just allows him to use his legs, just allows him to get moving. And that's what Bear Nation is sort of saying. You're putting a statue back there with a terrible line. Aaron Donald is going to feast on Andy Dalton. I mean, it's going to be bad.
See, and I think you are right now in the same place that I was when the Bills drafted Josh Allen. There was not a quarterback in the draft that I wanted more than Josh Allen, and somehow we got him. And then after year 1 and him being put in right away, and then year 2, I was like, man, I don't know that, going into last year, I don't know that I'm a Josh Allen fan. And then when he finally put it together, now I'm like totally on board.
Yeah,
I'm like, wow, that was a great pick. But having my closet full of Bills quarterbacks,
regrettable jersey purchases.
Right. I waited legitimately till this year to buy his jersey, where in years past, like, I would go, okay, new quarterback for the Bills. Let me go get his number. And then he just, what was the kid from Tulane? You mentioned his name the other day. Oh, God. He's a gunslinger. He was awful.
Quarterback?
Yeah.
From Tulane.
Was it Tulane? I think it was Tulane. I can't remember his name. I'll think about it.
By the way, Adam Reyna points out in the chat room that it's okay to wear the jersey if you're a white guy. Just don't wear blackface. Good note. Okay,
that was my comment. He's killing me.
Yeah, that's a good note. All right, so let's not get bogged down. Let's run through some of these most negative sentiments online by fan bases. The Las Vegas Raiders are number 1. The Dallas Stars are number 2. The Arizona Coyotes are number 3. Philadelphia 76ers are number 4. And Chicago Bears round out the top 5. Then we drop down to someone you already said, the Toronto Maple Leafs. People are very upset with them. Then you got the Vancouver Canucks. Then we got your boys, the Buffalo Sabres.
Oh, my God.
Well, what's wrong with the Buffalo Sabres?
They're just awful. Sabres.
Yeah.
They're just awful. They're in our argument with their top player. There's no hope.
Buffalo Sabres, Toronto Raptors, Denver Broncos, CF Montreal, which is an MLS team. And this was supposed to be American sports leagues, but okay, we'll include them. Orlando Magic, fans are upset. LA Galaxy, another soccer team, fans are upset. Milwaukee Bucks, fans are upset. Didn't they just win a title?
Yeah.
What the hell do the Milwaukee Buck fans have to be upset about?
Like, they should be like the most loved franchise after no love. What, 50 years?
Yeah,
I think is what they were saying.
I love the Bucks. I always liked the Bucks. There was Sidney Moncrief. They were a fun team back in the 70s. Milwaukee Bucks, Edmonton Oilers, Denver Nuggets, Columbus Blue Jackets, New York Islanders, Minnesota United FC, another soccer team, Utah Jazz. Now, this brings us to one that I can't believe is only at 6.9% negative. I mean, it still made the top this is the top 10% of all sports teams in America where fans are angriest. Houston Texans. Houston should be right up at the top.
Oh, yeah. Everybody, it's like a dumpster fire this year.
Right?
Like JJ Watt's gone, the receiver.
Well, it started with
gone.
the stupid trade that Bill O'Brien did with was DeAndre Hopkins.
Right. He's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. And then you got Deshaun.
And they're starting Tyrod Taylor. You know, I mean, when Deshaun, what is Deshaun doing? Is he just going to ride the bench? Is he?
Well, he's riding the bench because of all the lawsuits against him for the sex stuff.
But those are civil suits at this point. There have been no charges. The NFL hasn't concluded in an investigation that he's got to be suspended or anything like that. I mean, they've got a stud.
I think it's an image thing, and I don't think he wants to play there.
Yeah, no, he definitely doesn't want to play there. He was trying to get out before all of this happened.
Right.
Man, did that blindside him, huh? I mean, like a month before the rape charges and sex assault charges came out against Deshaun Watson, he was really puffy about, I'm one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and if I don't want to play here, I can go wherever I want. I mean, he was really cocky. My Bears, before the draft, were trying to move heavens and earth to get him. And
do you think he was blindsided, or he maybe had an idea that this was percolating because he wasn't, he wasn't listening to the, oh, you need to give me this money, Deshaun, so I can stay quiet?
Here's what I think. All right. And we talked earlier about 9/11 trending and about how that's the beginning of the conspiracy theorist mindset in this country. Here's what I think happened. I think he made a lot of squawking about, you better trade me or else. And I don't want to play here. I don't want to play for this new coach. I don't want to play for this new general manager. I hate all these people. I hate. I think that big crazy Texan who owns that team got some private investigators and said, let's take this boy down a few pegs. I think that the Texans themselves might be instrumental in these super convenient for their case. Super convenient for them trying to get, although maybe it's not, because then they'll get even less for him. But I just think that I think this was targeted. I think somebody was encouraged to come forward, and then it turned out that, oh my God, this guy might be a real predator. We don't know.
Isn't McNair dead? Yeah, the owner?
Then they got a kid.
He came out of the grave. He came out of the grave.
Probably nothing worse than rich kids that inherit football teams.
Okay.
I'm just saying. All right, so let's keep going here because there are some more interesting ones. So the top 5, and then we got through. Where did we leave off? We left off with Houston, right? Houston Texans. Miami Heat fans are also very angry. Calgary Flames. Atlanta United FC, Chicago Fire FC. A lot of MLS fans very upset. Then we got the Clippers, and then we're going to round out the list here with Seattle, your Dallas Cowboys. I understand that. But honestly, until yesterday, I would have thought the Cowboys would be much higher on this list of angry fans.
Well, yesterday isn't included in this list.
No. But, I mean, I could see them. Before yesterday, it was doom and gloom from almost everybody that I knew who was a Cowboy fan. Everybody was worried about stuff. Everybody thought the defense was going to suck. So the fact that they're not in the top 10 of most angriest fans, that surprises me. Them being such a big team. St. Louis Blues. Here's another one. You know what it is? It's the abused wife syndrome. You know, where you get beaten up for so long that the fan base is just like, yeah, well, but I deserved it. You know, New York Jets. The New York Jets are like not in the top 10. I mean, they still make the top 10% of all teams that are hated by their fans. But
I would have thought they'd have been in the top 10 for sure.
Seattle Kraken is rounding out the list here. Well,
they're not even in the league yet.
I know. They haven't even played anything.
They don't like their name?
Yeah. I think it's a cool name.
We don't like the jersey colors. Like, I mean, we're upset with the uniform.
Here's the final 3, and you're going to have to explain one of these to me. The final 3 that round out the top 10% of most hated teams by their fan base, or most negative comments by their fan base. So I guess you could just say most negative fan bases towards their team.
Now I could figure out possibly why the Kraken might have people upset.
Why?
Because they got to pick players off of every team that were studs.
But why would that upset the Kraken fan base?
Well, you would log on to the Kraken page and make a negative comment.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
If they took your guy that you liked,
sure,
you know, that might be why there's negative comments.
So the bottom 3 here are the Houston Rockets, which, whatever. Houston fans just seem to be upset about everything, whether it's they're cheating Astros, they're communist-friendly Rockets, or they're date raper Texans.
Non-communist friendly. That's why he
what
got
did I
in
say?
trouble. You
What
said
did I say?
communist friendly.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Houston Rockets, Buffalo Bills. Why is Bills Mafia upset so much that they make the top 10
The new stadium.
or top 10%?
There was talk about a new stadium and having the county pay for it, and the ownership, Pagula, said if they didn't get a new stadium, they were going to move the Bills, and that pissed off a bunch of people.
You people up there, you can't be happy. I mean, you're like the glamour pick of every expert in the NFL heading into the season. You're the glamour pick. You're being celebrated for the first time in decades.
And they're talking about moving the team because they don't get the Jerry
out of
Jones.
Buffalo?
Yes.
Or into a suburb, or they're already.
No, they were moving the team out of Buffalo.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. I thought they were building a new stadium and people liked the old.
No,
stadium.
Goodell came to town and said, "Hey, we've been talking about this new stadium for a long time. It needs to happen for Buffalo."
Wow.
And, it's a blue collar town. We can't afford that type of, Jerry Jones world.
All right. And the last one trending here is, I don't know, another MLS team. Didn't matter. Earthquakes. The Earthquakes are trending. But we're going to sign off here because we're running a little bit late, but that's okay. We had a lot of stuff we wanted to talk about. I did want to check on this because suddenly trending near the top of Twitter is Trevor Bauer. Okay, so breaking. Dodgers Trevor Bauer will miss. Speaking of Deshaun Watson and his issues, Dodgers Trevor Bauer will miss the rest of the season as MLB investigates his sexual assault claims against him.
The only thing that I say about that is, how did she go back for a second round?
Do you know that I'm not as up on that story because I always thought Bauer outage on Twitter is one of the things that I follow. He's very good on social media. He's very interesting. He knows how to use the platforms, and he does these great commentary videos on other players. And like when he has a particularly good game, he'll sit there and watch, and it'll be a Trevor Bauer outage reaction to him striking out 9. And he was fun about it. Like he would talk shit on the players he was striking out. So but he's also a monumental dick. I mean, that shows that, but I guess a lot of like high level athletes who perform in particularly high leverage situations like he's known to do, maybe you have to be a dick. So I always assumed he was a dick. So I never really paid attention to these stories, not because of anything other than I went, it's probably true. And I move on, and I'm not really going to discuss. But what is the situation with Trevor Bauer? What do you know it to be?
Well, I don't really know much more than I've read, but evidently he had 2 encounters with this girl. He ended up being very physical, very rough, but her text messages and things that appears like lured him to the first encounter were that she liked that type of sex. She then said she wasn't encouraging sex where she left with bruised body parts and, evidently it punched her. And
so rough. He likes it rough. He likes to rough up a girl.
But those were her text messages encouraging that prior.
Okay.
And so, I don't know. That whole rough sex thing is crazy anyway.
He's a very, very good pitcher. He's also an asshole. People are complicated. There are many levels to people. So, I mean, I don't know if I believe that or not. Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention really quick that was trending that just popped up. Chris Bryant is trending. That's because he's returning to Wrigley Field for the first time. I just saw something Prince Andrew was trending. What happened with him? Why is Prince Andrew did he is he being arrested now? Prince Andrew, of course, I think it's pretty well known, and I think everybody basically believes that he had sex with that 15-year-old girl,
right?
Back with Epstein. Those pictures, come on, man. Those pictures. You're standing there. You're a freaking prince, and you're on a private island with an obvious teenager, a young teen, and you got your hand around her waist. It looked like a man. Come on. All right, so I don't know why he's trending, but because now I can't find him. Actually, why not? Why not just see? Let's check in really quick. Okay, I don't see Prince Andrew trending, but I do see Prince William. And we don't care about him. All right, so that's going to do it. We thank you for joining us. Remember, no show tonight, but we are going to do a show. We'll do a big post-football show on Sunday night. However, I got to let you guys know, we're not going to start the game on Sunday night until after the Bears-Rams game on Sunday Night Football. That's going to be that's the big showcase game, just like we did last night, where we came on for about an hour after the Cowboys game. So that's the next time we'll be doing a show. Will be Sunday night. Probably, might be 10:45, might be 11. We'll keep you updated, but we're going to have a football show on that day, and anything else. Like, should anything big happen, we're pretty fluid here. We can do whatever we want. It's not like we're tied down to a format. But I imagine we're going to have some shit talking football stuff, and we'll try and bring in a couple of guests. Football experts give their takes. And as E always wants to do, maybe we'll take some of your calls after the first week of football. So that's to look forward to. The Pillow Talk edition will be NFL heavy on Sunday night when we return. But again, remember, it won't be at the normal 10 p.m. Central Time. It will be immediately within 10 minutes following the end of the Sunday Night Football game between the Bears and the Los Angeles Rams. E, anything you want to add?
No, do you do a show on Saturday?
No, we don't. However, one of the aspects of this whole thing, building it here, early on I used to mention it. I don't know what's been happening. When big news stories happen, like when something is developing, God forbid something terrible happened or something wonderful happened, whatever it is, if there's a big thing breaking of national significance, I will typically just sit, and with a computer and just watch it unfold. And I'll comment on my Twitter feeds, or now I'm back on Facebook, so you'll see it there. No, we're gonna jack that up a little bit. But as these stories unfold, I will jump on here. You'll get a little bit of warning. You'll probably get like a 5-minute warning or something on Facebook. So make sure you follow all of those things on the Facebook page. Here, I'll put them back up just for you. Make sure you're following all those things, and make sure you're subscribing, especially on the Twitter, because that'll notify you when something big is happening. We talked about, actually, there is supposed to be, there's like some crazy Proud Boys thing tomorrow somewhere. And people are really worried that because it's the 9/11 anniversary, that some shit's going to go down. So should anything like that happen, I'll jump on. I'll have it on the TV and bring in some people, and we'll just comment on it as it unfolds, as we're watching it unfold. So that's always an aspect of this. So will we be doing a show on Saturday? I don't know, but maybe. If something big happens, we'll just jump in and do it whenever. All right. Well, thank you, folks. Have a wonderful weekend. Big fun this weekend, whether it's college or NFL. I hope all your teams win. I hope you're happy. My team is not going to win. My team, as I said, 31-10 is what I think is going to happen with the Bears and the Rams. All right, E. And who do you guys got? Who's Buffalo have?
Pittsburgh.
You know what? Why didn't we do this? We should bring Kelly on and let her do a pick segment.
Yeah, I think that was always fun with the Steelers versus the Bills, stuff like that.
Or we could do that as a podcast, because Ed wants us to start cranking out the podcast, which we are. We promise to. As I said, I haven't spoken to Kelly in 15 years, and not because we have any problems with us, just because life gets weird. And once I realized that I hadn't spoken to her in a long time and thought that we might do something together, I decided, well, I'm not going to talk to her again until we're doing something. That'll be the first time I'll talk to her, is when it's recording. I thought that might be interesting.
And I want to say, I really appreciate the chat room, and we got an answer to the Prince Andrew issue. He was served papers for the Epstein accuser. Thanks.
Okay. Things are looking a rough weekend for him. All right. Thanks, folks. Enjoy the weekend. And like I said, we'll be back Sunday night after the Sunday Night Football game. And then every Monday through Friday at noon here for High Noon. Pillow Talk every night, Sunday through Thursday from 10 o'clock to whenever. Have a good weekend. I'm Pugs Moran. This is Pugs Moran Live. He's E the Artist, and this is the Radio Misfits